Things have changed substantially, but the need to communicate hasn't changed, but the avenue for doing it. As the sales force is changing and the sales force itself is getting to be more expert in the logistics of interaction between companies, the messaging about product and the future and how you communicate with customers and who the company is has shifted to electronic media. And that's a big change, and so that's one of the things that you work in. So what kinds of things would you be able to provide through the 2020 initiative that will help companies get knowledgeable about that and start to execute on that point?
Well, I think one of the key things is to communicate with the millennials particularly, you've got to communicate electronically, as you say, but you've got to communicate fast and get right to the points that matter to them. Otherwise, they're just going to turn the quote-unquote channel. And so you have to know who they are, you have to know what they need, you know, what their problems and challenges are. And if you can do that and you can hone your content directly on that, then they're going to pay attention. And what you have to do is you have to show them that you understand them as a mechanism for building trust. Because what we know is that trust is on the decline in the United States. We know as many as 2/3 of Americans say they don't trust each other, they don't trust the government, they don't trust institutions in society. And those are national statistics from surveys. And so what that tells us is we've got to work harder than ever to establish trust. And one of the core ways that we do that is to show people we've taken the trouble to understand who they are, what they need, where they want to go. Most of your competitors don't know that. So if you know that and you can show them, you're going to have a huge leg up in the market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a really important point. When you break down the selling process, and you know, we think of sales and marketing as lumped together too often, but marketing is the process of getting people to find us. And then sales is the process of converting those people into customers. And one of the commonalities between those parts of the function is the whole trust building, rapport building part of the sale. And you can't have a sale if you don't build rapport, credibility, and trust with the customer. And so that is being done in a different way in this decade than it has been in the past, where it was always the relationship with the salesperson. Now the companies have relationships with the people on the other side, and they develop that rapport as well. And a lot of the content video that you help people develop basically provide that part of the sale. So the salesperson is doing the conversion from a position of trust and where the sale baseline is already established. So that's really, really important. And that's a huge advantage because that will bring you business that you would never otherwise get. So, you tell people how to do this kind of thing, how to find that kind of information, and tell them what techniques that are used by professionals like yourself. Now, you've done a lot of work for the government. You've done work for large corporations. You've done work for Fortune 500 companies and for best-selling authors. And so, in your work in gathering this information together, what are some of the key points that people would need to have covered in their information gathering?
Well, what they need to do is they've got a lot of internal information that are very useful. So they've got to figure out where the gaps are in that. And clearly what your internal data aren't going to tell you is where the market's going and you know what they really want and need, what the things that are most important to them. And so you need to be bringing that information in on an ongoing basis. You also need to constantly be getting feedback from your customers. And the reason for doing that is probably threefold. Number one, you want to make sure that you have data you can use in your marketing, because with those millennials, for example, they're looking for social proof. They're looking for evidence that you can do what you say you can do. And so that's critically important. Number two reason that you need that feedback is for continuous process improvement inside your organization. You need to make sure you're getting that feedback systemically on an ongoing basis, and you're actually communicating it, not siloing it in your company. And you're paying attention to it. And the third reason is that knowing at a really clear level what's going on with your customers and your prospective customers is going to help with that ongoing planning.
Yeah, and you can't find out how that's changing with time if you just do a point source survey or something like that. You have to have a process that tells you whether it's an uptrend or downtrend so that you can go where the market's going to be.
And the only way you do that is to have an ongoing system where you're constantly through the customer life cycle touching that customer and finding out where they are, how happy they are, you know, what are the key drivers, and how you're doing with them.